That what is happening, crypto crew? Sean's coming back at you with another cryptocurrency video. It's a jam-packed video for you today. We have an update from Raoul Pal, so you don't want to miss this one. We're going to be talking about Raoul Pal's take and what he would do if he was getting $1 million at a young age. How would he diversify? What would he do? So we'll hear from the founder and CEO of Global Macro Investor and get his take on the market. And what he's also talking about is he's saying that he predicts an exponential move for crypto over the long term. And we'll show you why we think this as well. The Bitcoin bros agree with this 100%. And we'll look at the charts and we'll show you where Bitcoin is going to be going in the future. This isn't a get rich quick play. This is a long-term vision of understanding what's going on with the global monetary system, what's going on with the debasement of your currency, whether it's the US dollar, the Japanese yen, whether that's the Colombian peso, whatever you're hodling, it's debasing because fiat currency all goes to zero over time. Some fiat currencies are stronger than others. That's one thing to keep in mind. You can always diversify across different territories, but all in all, there's one thing that outpaces debasement, that's Bitcoin. So once again, as mentioned, we'll be hearing more from Raoul, and what he's also saying is that he forecasts a shockingly strong Bitcoin amid fading bank trust. And what he's saying is, I think there's a potential setup here for Bitcoin and the whole crypto market actually to be shockingly strong. More like in 2013 than in 2019 when we had a big correction, partially due to the G5 central bank balance sheets that were contracting over that period of time, and it pulled back the crypto market. So keep this in mind. He's foreseeing a huge cataclysmic bullish surge for not just Bitcoin, the entire crypto market. What's your take on this? Are altcoins going to outpace Bitcoin, or is the SEC going to ban alts and make them all go to zero? Taking a look at the Bitcoin price chart and zooming out, like we're zooming out on the monthly. So this isn't the whole Bitcoin life cycle, but from 2015 to present day, what do you see? You just see Bitcoin going up, 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 and to the right. And if you just see by the time 2029 rolls around, and within 5 years, where is this bottom at? If we just hold this down and we see 2029 starts right here, the bottom of this line is right at 180,000. So can Bitcoin, do this, come up, bounce off of it, come up, come down, fall below it, come up, come down, bounce above it? At this time, the median threshold that this line respects and has been respecting for some time now, by the time 2030 rolls around, is $180,000. So if you just hold Bitcoin and it stays around this line, whether it's a little below, a little bit above, it'll get back to it. And that's a 5x right now within 5 years. So keep this in mind. You have to have a long-term vision. And what Bitcoin isn't a hedge against inflation. It's a hedge against monetary debasement. So speaking of monetary debasement, we're going to be looking at the dollar chart as well. And if you look at this is the dollar chart since 1967. And as you see what the dollar's been doing, it puts in a high, it puts in a low, it puts in a lower high, a lower low, and then even though this spiked way up here back in 2022, it still put in a higher low. So it is just stair-stepping its way down because this is debasement. So this is that next big leg down when it comes back down to these levels down here. Will this fall all the way down here by the end of 2025 to early 2026? When these peaks happen, how fast does it fall once it starts its downtrend? You see the dollar already started its downtrend. Now, this first peak here, if we pull out our day counter here, our date range, and we go from the peak to when it hits that red line at the bottom for support, that's about almost 2,200 days, 2191 to be exact, and that took about 6 years to play out. So this could have been a bull run, and this could have been a bull run, but this is back in the 90s. Bitcoin wasn't around, so keep that in mind. So let's look at the next pullback, and this pullback was from top to bottom when it first peaked about another 2,200 days. So you talk about another 6 years. It seems like every 6 years the dollar comes back down and tests this once it starts its downtrend. So keep this in mind. This is January of '02. That would have been a bull run. Retracement, another bull run. So as you see, Bitcoin has just been around since this level right here at the bottom of the second financial crisis. And that's when Bitcoin came about. And Bitcoin just was rallying in these pullbacks. It rallied there, and then it rallied there. Well, look what happened. Bitcoin's never had this major, massive rally. So if we see another 2,200 day rally with the dollar on the way down, well, let's pull this out and see where this would take us out to. That would take us to about October of 2028. So that's right after the 2028 halving. So we have two halving events. So we could see Bitcoin have a rally right here, then it cools off, goes into another little micro bear market, retests this upper bound before ultimately having this pull down all the way down to here. And that's a massive move. So Bitcoin's only been in micro rallies when the dollar has a pullback. A dollar has a pullback within an uptrend. Now, in a downtrend, this could be a cataclysmic move to the downside. So this is just the beginning. And then if the dollar comes back up and Bitcoin stabilizes out, rinse, repeat. Like when it comes back down, Bitcoin's going to have smaller halvings every time. But then that second 10-year window, which could take us out to like 2040, 2050, whichever way you cut the cloth, the dollar is going to keep decimating and Bitcoin's going to keep rallying up. But this right here, there's a good chance that this move right here, this downtrend, could last through 2 Bitcoin halving cycles, but we've never seen this. We've never had the opportunity to see this. This could be a massive, massive move with Bitcoin. This is something that you want to be overly prepared for and not be caught naked or with your pants down, because right here would have been a massive bull run. Right here would have been a massive bull run, but Bitcoin didn't exist. Bitcoin's just been doing these little micro bull runs when the dollar pulls back here, here, and here. We've never had this full-fledged run to the downside when the dollar's fallen off a cliff. It's only been when the dollar's in an uptrend, not a downtrend. So keep this in mind. So with that, how high do you think Bitcoin can go? Once again, we heard from Raoul, and he's sitting there telling you that he forecasts a shockingly strong Bitcoin amid fading bank trust. And as time progresses, he's also saying an exponential move for crypto over the long term. And this is the reason why, because as the dollar weakens and debases, Bitcoin and crypto are going to continue to strengthen and push forward.
So I've thought about this for a long time, and I did my retirement crisis video about this, and it's worried about what happens to those assets versus what young people buy. It kind of changed over the pandemic because young people left the cities and moved to these kind of suburban or rural places where the property on offer was cheaper, and that's a lot of that was the baby boomer properties. So I think that's interesting dynamic that I didn't really expect to happen, and I don't think it's going to reverse massively yet. So I think there's a chance, but the probability of house prices going up in real terms, adjusted for the debasement, something we'll talk about in a bit, is pretty low. In nominal terms, it'll look like it keeps going up because the Fed printing new currency. This equity portfolio is the other side of that equation. They own all the equities. They've got to sell that. We've seen that transition in Europe, and we had an equity market that went nowhere for years. Now, again, adjusted for debasement, the Fed printing or the global central bank printing, the S&P's gone nowhere since 2008.
Correct.
Which actually looks just like the European stock market. So there's a lot of dynamics at play. It's a bit more complicated, but do you, as a 28-year-old, get richer in real terms by owning these assets? I.e., can you buy more consumption later? And the answer is probably no. So you are going to have to face with the ugly truth is, I need to find assets that grow, not just optically, like the Venezuelan stock market goes up a lot, but because the currency goes down a lot.
Yeah.
So how do you make those? How do you make that wealth grow so your future self thanks you for the decisions you've made? And I can only come down to two asset classes to create those kind of returns, because these things outperform the debasement because they're driven by adoption of technologies. So that's what I call the exponential age, which is the technology interplay between everything from AI, robotics, EV, whether you want to put in other forms of new energy sources, genetic sciences, Internet of Things, space. I mean, there's a lot of things all happening at the same time, which is why we're all kind of spinning to catch up. And the other side is crypto, which is actually part of the exponential age as well, which is a new financial system and an internet system of value for the digital world.